I can't believe you actually turned up in a clown suit. Right. So I've got to say I think you went too hard in the other direction there, Hunter. I don't wanna start on bad blood or anything, but I think that conservatives are being censored deliberately. But I'll explain my point. I think the best way of describing it is how Tim Pool did with Joe Rogan. The censorship is both ways because the tools of the censor are inaccurate, to say the least, especially on social media now. Oh dear. You know, I'm actually not going to complain at that. But it's the way they're going to define you out of existence that's the problem. They'll restrict what you can and can't say through the use of what they say is acceptable speech in order to essentially make every space progressive. And so you will find yourself ever more boxed in and ever more restricted. And I don't think that this is actually something that's outside of the realm of free speech and government censorship. A lot of these platforms actually required government aid to actually come into existence in the first place. But more than that, I think it's the spirit of the thing that's important. Because, I mean, look at the reaction to the fact that we're going to speak here today. Look at the absolute desperation from the protesters and complicity from the establishment here. It took Donald Trump tweeting out today about Turning Point USA and to threaten them saying, look, if you deplatform speakers, we're going to take away your funding. If you didn't have a conservative president, you wouldn't have that, and I wouldn't be here right now. And then we go on to the various deliberate infractions. Now, I'm not saying that the data you have is wrong, of course. I'm sure that conservative pages are indeed very well represented on the platforms on which they still prosper. But I think it's interesting how it's the conservatives who are reaching out and desperate for something that reflects their worldview. Because a leftist, and I really wish you wouldn't call them liberals, sorry, I'm not trying to go, their views are represented everywhere, in every institution around you. Find me a conservative institution. You are the underground dissidents. And I say this as an outsider looking in. I feel bad for what conservatives are going through. And I realize that you really hate to play the victim. I realize that's not in your character. You are believers in personal agency. You are people who think, I am responsible for what happens to me. But sometimes there is someone above you with such power over your lives that there's nothing you can do, and you can't just be blind to that. The best example is Steven Crowder. Is he not the largest conservative YouTube channel in all of human history? And it takes one lispy queer to whine about it on Twitter. Oh. You're in some serious trouble for bringing that pillow, my friend. But one annoying leftist gets enough retweets, and that's Steven Crowder's entire income gone. His channel was taken down. I mean, what would you have done if YouTube had not brought it back up?
I mean, I don't know. I'd have to start reaching out.
You are indeed right that it does go both ways, and that's because the tools that they're using are inaccurate. Because the scope of what they have to manage is unfathomably large, and so they have no choice. The problem was the fact that there is a group of people forcing these platforms to deplatform people on the basis of political ideology. That's actually a really bad idea and not how we should be organizing society. Because at the end of the day, if they want to be platforms and not publishers, they can't start taking editorial decisions. There are loads, I don't like the alt-right, and I'm sure you're all aware, but I think they should have a right to exist. But Facebook and YouTube have taken these editorial decisions. I mean, look at Paul Joseph Watson. He has something like how many subscribers did he have on Facebook? Something like 1 million followers on Facebook. He got taken down because he had talked about Tommy Robinson, another person who had been taken down with more than 2 million followers, more than all of the British political parties combined. And he was taken down because of his criticisms of Islam. Paul Joseph Watson's page was taken down because he had tried to support Tommy Robinson. So I'm honestly of the opinion that this is the case. And recently, Steven Crowder did another great thing. He pointed out on his show that if you search for his channel, and the same goes for my channel, you don't get any of his videos. But if you, for example, search for my new channel, I've got a new channel called AKKAD Daily. If you search for it, you get every one of my videos. All the results are for that channel. So if that's not clear evidence of censorship, I actually don't know what is. I was actually not going to talk about censorship, but I feel that I really have to make the point, because I appreciate that you don't want to wallow in victimhood. You really don't, right? But you've got to face the facts. This is a war you guys are losing, and you're going to lose everything, because at the end of the day, those social media accounts don't belong to anyone else. You know, no one else uses them, and you build them up. And when you're in our position, they're your livelihood. You know, you are actually, there are people who are dependent on you. And in many cases, for example, again, Steven Crowder, where they actively said, you have not broken these rules, but it just took more mob pressure on Twitter for them to go, screw it, we're going to demonetize you anyway. Can't go on. Even the God Emperor himself is aware of this. You have to be able to speak. And if they pull out your tongue, how are you going to do it? So I won't go on excessively, because I'd like to answer questions, because I think that'd be more fun. But I think that we shouldn't understate the problem that we have here. I mean, like, for example, like Patreon. I was not using Patreon's platform when they deplatformed me from it. What they've done is claimed ownership over all of my online activity. I wasn't even on my own platform, and I was insulting Nazis. So it's a weird hill to die on for Patreon, I thought. But it was the same for Twitter, to be honest. But yeah, I won't go on at length. I'd rather take questions. So let's do that.